Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you, coming at you with yet more pure, yummy gameplay. I've been laddering with this build in particular a lot, and it's still only day one, even though this is going to go out almost a week, or I think a little more than a week after the initial pack release. So you can definitely tell I'm building a bit of a backlog here. So before we start getting into our turn one combo too much here, I first real quick want to mention that for this video, I'm going to show you how to play out that end board that you set up, because that's where a lot of the confusion I've seen in the comment section is coming from. How do you use your yummy end board? So that's what this video is going to be all about. Of course, we do have the combo guide linked in the description below that will also demonstrate how to set up stuff like the Borload Savage Dragon, but it's always best to see this played out against a real opponent and using your disruption in real time. So setting up our turn one combo here, leading with the Cookie Yummy, going into Snatchy, Mignon, Revive to Synchro, into the Cupsy Yummy Way. We're going to activate our Cupsy Yummy Way effect here, but they're going to hit us with an Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Of course, Ash Blossom against Cupsy Yummy Way would normally be pretty brutal, but if you take a look at our hand here, we already have two Yummy names, one of them being Marshmallow as well as Yummy Surprise in our hand. This means that we actually have enough bodies to just full combo and set up our regular end board anyway. There's Lollipo rather. Here's Marshmallow. Now we're going to Synchro Summon for the Shamisen Samsara Sorokat. And remember, we're not going to make Herald right away. First, we're going to go into the Sky Striker Ace Camellia. That's because, of course, we can use the Camellia's effect in order to dump the Hornet Drones, then link Camellia off into the Kagari, and of course, Kagari can add the Hornet Drones back from the graveyard to our hand. Activating this Hornet Drones gets us another token, but we're not going to synchro it with the Kagari to make another Yummy synchro. I first want to revive the Shamisen Samsara Sorokat, then sync that with the token in order to make Herald of the Arclight. Once our negate is established, now we'll use Surprise, revive Marshmallow. Marshmallow is going to add back the Yummy Surprise, and now we're going to Synchro Summon for the Lollipo Yummy Way. Always got to make that Herald before the Lollipo Yummy Way. Lollipo is your most important extender. If you get hit with a nib after you've already used it, you will not be able to end on really much of anything at all. Alright, we're going to summon the Yummy Snatchy, we're going to set 2, and then we're going to pass back over to our opponent. So they're going to lead with the Superheavy Samurai Prodigy Wakaushi. It's really important to note that the Lollipo Yummy Way can only summon its materials, same with all the other Yummy Synchro monsters, when your opponent activates a card or effect. So, if possible, I tend to prefer using the Lollipo Yummy Way literally ASAP. All the better if you have a card on the field you want to destroy. We definitely want to destroy this Wakaushi before it has a chance to activate, so we can do that with the field spell we're about to set up here. We're going to use Lollipo Yummy Way, putting it back into the extra deck, and now we're going to revive the Yummy Snatchy from the graveyard, as well as the Lollipo Yummy. Now we can use Yummy Snatchy effect to set up the Acro-Qui, and then we're going to Synchro Summon with the Cookie Yummy to go back into the Lollipo Yummy Way. Now, one of the big things I've seen asked in the comments is, how do you have time to do this before your opponent does stuff? There's only one way in Master Duel to do that, and that's for your toggle that's usually sitting right over here. That needs to be set to on during your opponent's turn. For a lot of decks, you know, you can get away with it being on auto. That's not true for Yummy. It is not optional. During your opponent's turn, you have to be set to on. Because if you're set to on, you're going to get past priority during every opportunity. Which means you can activate your Yummy Snatchy before your opponent has a chance to even use one of their Spell Speed 1 effects. You can even do it multiple times. Here we're going to use the Lollipo Yummy Way to revive 2 bodies, and then the Acro-Qui will pop the Wakaushi again before they even had a chance to activate because we were toggled on. Okay, so now when they summon the Marshmallow Yummy, I'm going to use the Yummy Snatchy effect in order to start Synchro Summoning, right? First, we're going to make the Tatsunoko. Now we're going to Synchro again into the Cupid Pitch. Again, we can do all this before our opponent can even have a chance to Link Summon because our toggle is set to on. That's not optional. You have to have it set to on if you're going to be playing this deck. But here we have climbed successfully up to the Borreload Savage Dragon. We can even get a follow-up Marshmallow Yummy with the Cupid Pitch here. Borreload will equip Camellia, getting 2 counters for 2 negates. Of course, it's still once per turn, but we could have one during our turn. I'm going to use the Yummy Surprise to revive Marshmallow here. Then I can wheel the Surprise back to hand, and now I can use Yummy Snatchy one last time. And this time, I'm going to summon the Cookie Yummy Way, which will let me turn my opponent's Marshmallow face down. Of course, if I think I'm up against Yummy, I definitely want to turn this face down to stop them from extending into more stuff. But again, this opponent is going to be a little bit different. Actually, I say again, I don't think I mentioned it before. This opponent's on Superheavy Samurai, plus Spiral, plus Yummy. So they're still going to go normal summon Quick Fix, try to add a Spiral gear. I'm going to use Purge to put a stop to that. And then shortly after, my opponent's going to concede. But I did still have even more disruption beyond the negates here. If my opponent activated another card or effect, I could activate Cookie Yummy Way's effect, put it back into the extra, summon Yummy Snatchy and Cookie Yummy from my graveyard. Cookie Yummy would activate, destroying my opponent's Spiral Quick Fix. Then I could use the Yummy Snatchy again to Synchro Summon Cupsy Yummy Way again to search 2 more pieces of follow-up to my hand. So that's a little bit more of a detailed breakdown of how to actually use this disruption against a live opponent. Again, in my combo guide, I did show how to climb up to like Borreload during the opponent's turn, but it's always going to be different against a actual duelist. So still got a couple more games to show off. Let's go into the next one. Alright, so this is going to be a mirror match. This is somehow the first pure Yummy mirror match I've played. Don't know how I've managed to get away with that up to this point, but I mean, I've played against Mitsu Yummy, but again, this is my first pure Yummy mirror match. We're going to be going first. We've got Cookie Yummy, so we are already good to go. I'm going to normal summon the Cookie Yummy and then link off into, of course, the Yummy Snatchy. Yummy Snatchy effect will activate, placing the Minion. Minion will revive the Cookie Yummy. We're going to Synchro Summon, of course, into our Cupsy Yummy Way from here. Cupsy Yummy Way's effect is going to activate, getting hit with another Ash Blossom. This time, however, we do not have the natural follow-up in our hand. So I'm just going to set the Imperm and then pass back over to my opponent. And you'll see how even though all I have is Cupsy Yummy Way, this will actually be sufficient disruption during my opponent's turn. I know that sounds really weird, but here's how. They're going to lead with the Puri-Rees map, adding the Cupsy Yummy. This will, of course, let me throw out the Droll Knockbird. And now they're going to normal summon Cupsy Yummy before linking it off into the Yummy Snatchy. Droll is going to do a lot of heavy lifting here, but we still need to stop the stuff that's actually on their field. And we're going to do that with our Cupsy Yummy Way, activating in response to the Yummy Snatchy effect. Now, Cupsy Yummy Way will revive the Yummy Snatchy and the Cookie Yummy from my graveyard. Their Yummy Snatchy resolves. Now my Cookie Yummy will destroy their Yummy Snatchy, and my Yummy Snatchy will place my Acro Cleave from my deck face up onto the field. Or my hand, rather. Okay, so they do have a Marshmallow for follow-up. However, I'm going to use Yummy Snatchy's effect at the first chance I can get. Remember, my toggle is set to on, so I can do this before they Link Summon. And now Cookie Yummy can not only turn the Marshmallow face down, but now my field spell can destroy theirs. This will cut them off from 2 sources of being able to combo, and it's going to make it extremely unlikely that they can do any significant amount of follow-up here. Yep, sure enough, they have to pass right back over to me. Draw phase, we're finding a Puri-Rees map. Excellent. I'm going to activate it here in order to add the Cupsy Yummy from deck to hand. We're going to normal summon Cupsy Yummy and then use the effect to add the Yummy Surprise. Then I'm going to use my Minion Graveyard effect, putting back Cookie and Snatchy, before I link my Cookie Yummy Way into, of course, the Snatchy. And now Snatchy's effect can place the Minion from my deck again. Now, of course, I don't have another Yummy monster, so I can't use the Minion effect right away, but it's not going to matter. I mean, we'll have more, you know, Link ones on the field. Gonna use Cupsy Yummy Way to add Cookie and Marshmallow here, because I already have regular Cupsy Yummy in the graveyard. Special Cookie, special Marshmallow. I'm going to sync for the Shamisen Samsara Sarakat. And around this time, my opponent started getting past priority, so I knew they had a Nibiru, but I also knew I was going to be completely fine, because this deck can play through Nibiru extremely easily. And again, if you're looking for an example of that, you can always check out my combo guide link down below, which does have the playing through Nibiru line. Now, my opponent's quickly running out of time to actually activate the Nibiru, and spoiler alert, they're actually not going to throw it out before I summon my Cat, which will be, or my Herald off the Cat, rather, which will be right about now. Alright, so I know Marshmallow Yummy has 600 defense, of course, because it is a Cupid pitch target, so at this point, my opponent's at 4,000. I really just need to get more Yummy bodies on board. I already have Lethal on board right now, actually, but might as well get some more bodies in play. Oh, I know what it was. It was... I always assume my opponent's at 8k. It was around this time when I realized, oh yeah, they're at 4k. So, went to go battle here. They're going to throw out the Nib. I'm, of course, going to negate with the Herald, and they're just going to concede in response. Which, of course, is a pretty natural response. I don't know what else they're going to do there. Alright, there is that duel there against the mirror match. Had to show at least one of those at some point. Got one last game before we finish off here. And this game is actually going to be against the ABC XYZ Union deck. So this will be another instance of me showing you how to set up the turn 1 board and then also utilize it during your opponent's turn. So I'm going to lead with Hornet Drones here. Tends to be better to lead with Hornet Drones if you open that plus Yummy monsters. Trying to bait like negates and stuff with the Kagari. Better that they Valor or Imperm the Kagari here than your Yummy Snatchy for sure. Although in this hand we do have the Minion, so it actually kind of doesn't matter even if they were to do that. Alright, Cupsy Yummy Way is going to activate here. We're going to add the Cupsy Yummy and the Cookie Yummy. And in this case, I'm actually going to discard Lollipo. That might look a little bit weird, but I mean, think about it, right? Like, Marshmallow and Cupsy Yummy are obviously just better Yummy monsters, and so is Cookie. Minion I definitely need off the Snatchy, and you can't place that from the graveyard off the Snatchy. And Triple Tack I absolutely wanted to still hold on to here, just in case my opponent did end up throwing out a hand trap. So when you think about it in that regard, throwing out the Lollipo Yummy here actually does make quite a bit of sense. Especially because not only do we not need that, we're not even going to use this Cookie Yummy during my turn 1 here. I'm just going to use it during my opponent's turn to synchro from the hand with Tatsunoko. As always, even though I have the Minion in hand, I'm still going to use the Yummy Snatchy to place it, just in case my opponent was holding out a Monster Negate. But early on in the combo line, that's the case too. Even if you open Minion, you should be activating Snatchy to place it, because you never know if your opponent's going to have an Imperm or a Valor they'll throw out against that. Alright, very typical turn 1 end board here, going into our opponent's turn. They're going to lead with the Union activation, and yet again, as I mentioned before, I'm going to use the Lollipo Yummy Way as soon as my opponent activates their first card or effect. By doing so now, I can set up my Boarload Savage Dragon before they continue their plays at all. Because remember, my toggle is set to on. Your toggle needs to be set to on in order to be able to do this. But there's the Cupsy Yummy and the Yummy Snatchy. Now we're going to place the Acro Kui here and then Synchro Summon even though my opponent doesn't have a card on the field to destroy. Because I can always Synchro Summon again later and get the field spell destruction at a later point during my opponent's turn if I need to. It doesn't always have to be right off the bat. It's nice if it is, but it's all good either way. So again, because my toggle is set to on, priority is going to keep getting passed to me before my opponent has a chance to use any Spell Speed 1 effect. Or I guess you could call them Spell Speed 1 actions, like summoning a monster or activating a spell card or something. But as you can see, Tatsunoko synchroed with the Cookie Yummy in hand. Cupid Pitch can then go into the Boarload Savage Dragon. And now I have multiple Omni Negates on the board before my opponent has even played their next card. I didn't even negate the Hanger, I let it resolve the spell card my opponent played. But just getting that Lollipo Yummy activation in on your opponent's first card or effect is crucial to make sure you have your negates set up and you're all good going into your opponent's turn. Okay, let's show off the deck list here before we finish off. Alright, here's the list. It is still the same list I've been using. Again, the time that I'm recording this, it's still day 1 of the pack being released. I'm quite addicted to playing this deck already. So I'm already starting to amass a backlog of duels for videos here. But yeah, I've been loving this list all day. It's been very, very good. Love having the ghost spells. I've talked in length about them. One thing I haven't really talked about in a video, but has been mentioned in the comments a decent bit, is Sprite Elf. Why no Sprite Elf? It's in Master Duel. We play level 2s. Why not summon it? Well, I would much rather be using our bodies instead of making a Sprite Elf. I would much rather use those bodies to climb up to Borreload Savage Dragon. I just don't think that Sprite Elf adds enough to our end board to be super worth going out of your way for. Because think about it. All of our yummy level 2 synchro monsters can already dodge targeting effects with their quick effect, so we don't really need the target protection, and reviving one of these during our opponent's turn doesn't even really do anything because their effects are all once per turn, so there's not really much of a point to doing that. The only real reason you would want to make Sprite Elf, as some people mentioned in the comments, is that it does give your Herald of the Arclight target protection, but like, okay, that doesn't really do a ton, to be totally honest, right? Like, and you could even make the argument that Borreload Savage Dragon is even better than target protection. It's an Omni Negate that protects your Herald of the Arclight, which of course has the Floodgate effect. So at this point, I'm not willing to say that Sprite Elf is bad, and this video is going out like a week after I'm recording it, so who knows? Maybe by this time, Sprite Elf will be standard and I'll be, really kicking myself for having said what I am right now. But just from what I've seen here on day 1, from my time playing in Ranked Ladder, I'm pretty confident that I just don't really think it's worth going into this link to using your bodies. And then, I mean, if you have another extender, I guess maybe you could still set up Borreload Savage. Well, but it's also a matter of having enough main deck monster spaces, right? Because if Elf is in the EMZ, that means your Yummy Snatchy needs to be in a main monster zone, along with your Herald of the Arclight, along with the Yummy monster you already ended on. Like, it'll be a bit of a tight fit if you try to do all that. I don't know. It's a bit much. Again, I'm willing to be open to the idea that this is not bad in Yummy, but I definitely don't think it's needed, personally. Alright, that's pretty much all I have to add to this build so far. You're all, watching these videos all spaced out, but, I've recorded all these kind of, in a way, back-to-back with play sessions in between them. So, I already feel like I've said a lot about pure Yummy, but I'll stop talking shop with you all. Let's go ahead and move on to our outro so we can thank YouTube members and Patreon subscribers. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.